Hey everybody, it's Greg LaBeouf, and welcome to Awaken the Protector Within. And today, listen, I was just sitting around this morning. We just finished an induction course, which is a 3-day entry point into our world. And it's just such an amazing course. It's a ton of energy. It's a ton of time, but it is so worth it. It radically changes people and the way that aggression and violence affects them. And I couldn't be prouder and happier to be part of this course and to take people through it. But what I want to share with you today is a really powerful question that I was reminded of this past weekend. And it is something that I've asked myself many times over the years. And it's something that I've shared this concept and this question with many people. And it has just served people so well. And I want to share it with you today. I want to discuss with you today. And so by this point, you're saying, what is the question? Tell me already. It is very simple. It is, are you hurt or are you injured? So the big question was this: what do good people do when a society's laws and institutions fail to keep them safe from aggression and violence? How do you get through a growing number of angry, hateful, aggressive people and still remain physically, mentally, and emotionally strong and positive? That was the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name is Greg LaBeouf, and welcome to Awaken the Protector Within. Okay, everybody, listen. Are you hurt or are you injured? It is a pretty powerful question. Let's dive into it. You see, a number of years back, I remember hearing this, and it was when I was fortunate enough to be around one or two of my instructors were working with a group of military individuals. They were part of a fairly elite unit. And I got to be present, and I got to just kind of be a fly on the wall, and I got to be, I really got to be a dummy. I got to be the person that they practiced on. And so there's always the pain appreciation lesson from that. But I learned so much because it was this really cool moment where they were talking, and they were talking about pain and injury. And I remember at this one point in the conversation, they were talking about just dealing with different mental traumas and just different feelings and emotions and very intense things. And I remember one guy just said, very casually, but just said, it's one of those things where I always got to remind myself, or ask myself, am I hurt or am I injured? And, it just really resonated. And the conversation kind of obviously evolved from that. But the concept of are you hurt or are you injured? Many times what I've come to discover, and since I started using that question and what I discovered by listening to these gentlemen talk, was that many times we are hurt. We are hurt physically, or we are hurt emotionally, or we are hurt mentally. And that means that our feelings are hurt, our body hurts, it's sore, it's stiff, our mind can actually hurt from dealing with stress and anxiety, and you fatigue. And matter of fact, there's an attribute called fortitude. And I've learned over the years that fortitude, that ability to endure is like a commodity. It's like energy. You can actually spend it. You can be depleted in your fortitude. You have those moments, those days when you're just exhausted. And although we all suffer these things, what was really interesting was to hear these gentlemen talk about this. It gave me a whole new perspective because many times we're hurt. We're hurt. It adds up, and we're hurt, and we feel that. But the interesting thing is that we begin to behave not like we're hurt, but we confuse it. And we begin to behave like we are injured. And, I kind of equate this like going to the gym. And everyone's probably experienced this on some level. But, I'll just use a gym analogy. But if you go to the gym and you pick up a weight and you start lifting a weight, and let's say you're trying to figure out what your max is. It doesn't matter what it is, but you're picking something up that's heavy for you. And so you begin to lift this. And you hit a point when the struggle becomes really intense. It becomes real. You're right at that limit. And so you're pushing that. And at that moment, we feel that. And for a lot of us, that feeling of being at our limits is very intense. And so right at that moment, we say, that's it, I'm done. I can't do anymore. And the reason that we believe we can't do anymore is because it hurt. Because it was hard and it hurt. And it was like our body could feel it. And so we have this perception that that's it, we're done, we're maxed out. And so again, this is that are you hurt? But the reality is that most times our body has been conditioned to send us kind of pain signals or to send us warning indicators that we are approaching our limits. But in fact, those aren't our limits. Matter of fact, we did a water confidence course where we use underwater swims and we use binding the hands and the feet behind the back, or the hands behind the back and binding the feet, and then being dropped into water and having to do controlled bobs at 16-foot depths and, all these kinds of things. And the reason we do that is because what happens is when you are underwater, 8, 10, 12 feet, 16 feet underwater, and you've mistimed your breath, or your body is burning through the oxygen in your blood, you're holding your breath, and all of a sudden you have a survival, instinct or survival mechanism, a survival, kind of like a startle moment, where your mind sends out a message that you need to breathe, and you need to breathe right now. Like you desperately need oxygen. It creates an overwhelming sense of panic in the body. But one of the things that we explore when we do this course is we do a lot of mental prep in this course. We actually go into the water, we set baseline tests in the water, and we see what people can do for underwater swims and bobs and all this kind of stuff. And we don't do any prep for this. Matter of fact, we tell people not to swim. There's no training for this course. It's not about swimming. And so when they come in, we do a baseline test. And what ends up happening is every single person, when you go under the water, like when you're down below the water, so that there's no way to get an instantaneous breath of air, you're underneath that water and you're doing, let's say, like going for a 50-meter underwater swim, there is a point when your body is hit with an overwhelming sense of panic. And it is every part of your body is screaming at you that you need air and you need it now. And one of the things that we do, one of the first lessons we teach people is that when you in fact feel that first moment of panic, you must intellectually know and understand that that is a false warning system. Your body has enough oxygen in there. You will not black out at that point. Your body has enough oxygen to go further through that. It is kind of like a survival instinct built in to say, listen, it sounds the alarm here because it's like a gas light in your car. It comes on with about 100 kilometers left. It doesn't come on with 1 kilometer left. Wouldn't be much of an early warning indicator. So that gas light goes on, the little alarm, bing, bing, beeps, and you say, oh my God, I got to get some gas. I'm going to run out of gas. It is just an early warning indicator. And it's the same thing that you experience when you do these underwater swims or you do these bobs and different things, is that you have a survival mechanism in you that sets off an early warning indicator. What I'm getting at with the are you hurt or are you injured, for most of us, when we feel a certain amount of pain, a certain amount of fatigue, a certain amount of, whatever it is, suffering, we have an early warning indicator that goes off. And that is kind of this analogy of being hurt. Okay, and see, like, I'll expand the story a bit. And they asked, are you hurt or are you injured? If you're hurt, it's like, just drive on. Like, if you're hurt, know that, hey, listen, I'm just hurt. This just sucks right now. This just hurts right now. And so, but the answer is always drive on. You have more in you. That is just the word. That is just your gaslight going on. That is just that first early warning sign underneath the water where it tells you need a breath. Relax. Yes, it's a warning indicator. I'm not saying ignore it, but some self-care in that moment, just relaxing, taking a few moments, be in the moment, breathe into it. But you must know that you are hurt. That's it. You're hurt. So take care of yourself, but breathe calm, stay loose, stay relaxed, and drive forward with it. You have more within you. You see, let's really clear this up. The alternate to that is, are you injured? And you must become aware of a difference. You see, being hurt sucks. When something hurts, or you're lifting that max, or you're under that water, and you feel that first panic, like your body's screaming at you, you need air, you're going to pass out. But when you mentally and emotionally just tell yourself, listen, that's just an early warning indicator. I'm okay. I can push through this. And then all of a sudden, that sense of panic, it passes. It's the craziest thing. It passes. And you get through and you realize, wow, you know what? Like, yeah, that sucked in the moment, but it was just a moment. It'll pass. Now, the difference between being injured is that you're injured. If you're hurt, then drive on. Know that you have more in you. It's okay to hurt. Beyond the hurt is a reward for the hurt. Whatever you're doing and it hurts, you're already hurting. Drive through it, because the reward is on, the pleasure's on the other side of the pain. And we all have to go through that. But when you're injured, seek medical attention. Don't hesitate. Seek medical attention. And you see, if we're talking mentally and emotionally, I know what it's like to go through the pain and the suffering associated with aggression and violence. And there was aspects that hurt. It hurt because I had a divided mind. I had conflicting self-beliefs about what it was to even be a man and how men should handle violence and all this stuff. And I had these conflicting beliefs, and that hurt. That hurt my self-image. That hurt my actions. That hurt my emotional states. All of that stuff hurt. But I had to learn to drive through that stuff. But there were some aspects of me that were injured. And that is why I sought out help. And that help came in the form of the physical training of my mentors. Paul Vunix and Thomas Cruise and Ron Belikis and these guys. Like Ron taught me, Ron set a new image for me for what it was to be a man in this. He just taught me so much. But I had to seek these people out to help with the injury part of it, not just the hurt part of it. The hurt part of it, I just had to recognize that it's okay to hurt, that from the hurt, if I move through this, instead of back away from this, instead of let this stop me, if I move through that, there's reward on the other side of it. And I'm already hurting, so I may as well go through it. But when you're injured, it's to seek the medical attention. And I don't care if that's in the form of psychiatric help and you've got to go see somebody, or it's in the form of physical help, a doctor, a holistic healer. It doesn't matter what it is, but it's so important for us just to recognize the difference between being hurt or being injured. I remember sharing this one time with a youth group. And the whole concept I based my lecture on when I was talking to them was, are you hurt or are you injured? And it wasn't 2 days later that I got this email from this 18-year-old girl from Germany who was living in Canada. And she said, she shared, I don't want to get into her full backstory, but she had a lot of personal trauma in her life with her immediate family. And it was just this poor girl, my heart went out to her. But it was very interesting because as bad as all the things were that had happened to her, she had found herself in a real tailspin, going in a wrong direction. And she said that when she heard the concept, when she heard me share with her the concept of are you hurt or are you injured, she realized that 90% of what she was dealing with was her being hurt. She was hurt that she had to go through stuff. She was hurt that she felt this way, or hurt that other people judged her or thought of her a certain way. And she realized most of that she had amplified it in her head. And when she really asked herself, am I hurt or am I injured? There was definitely a small portions of her, she said, that she realized that she was injured, but she was able to instantaneously identify what those pieces were. And she said it literally changed her entire world because her perception shifted. And she realized that she was just hurt. It was just painful. And it sucked, but that she was just in it and that, she was making it worse. She was staying stuck in the hurt because she'd confused the two. And so she said it did for her what it did for me in that moment. It set her free. And I just thought, I was just reminded of that after this past weekend and just all the great gifts and the great mentors that I've had in training and definitely being around the right people helps you through the hurt. It helps ease the hurt. But so much of that hurt comes from just our perception, and we lock ourselves into a hurt. We get stuck within that and we start thinking we're injured. And it was when we can step back and have a different perspective and recognize, listen, this hurts and it sucks. But on the other side of this, I will grow from this. I'll be stronger from this. And all I've got to do is keep moving through this. It won't last. It doesn't last. And on the other side of that is the reward for that. There's your growth. There's your self-discovery. But to recognize the difference and know when you are injured. Because if you're hurt, drive on. Power through it. Reward is on the other side of that hurt. That is what is bringing change. And if you're injured, seek medical attention. And never, ever be embarrassed about seeking attention. It is the quickest way. If I have an injury physically, we don't hesitate. We tend to it. We go to the doctor. We'll go to a chiropractor. We'll go to an acupuncturist. We'll do whatever it takes to make sure that we heal. Well, we need to be as diligent and as proactive when it comes to the mental and the emotional injuries that we can suffer sometimes. So I hope that helps. Sometimes it helps put things in perspective because we're all dealing with stuff in our lives. But it is something that, I haven't thought of it in a while, but it's such a powerful concept that I'd want to jump on and share it with you today. And I hope that is of some value to and of service to you today. But it's a great question. Are you hurt or are you injured? And if you're hurt, drive on. Reward's coming. You'll be rewarded for making it through that pain. And if you're injured, seek medical attention. All right, everybody, listen, that's it for today. Until next time, as always, please stay safe, stay ready. Want to awaken your protector within? If so, then head to awakentheprotectorwithin.ca and get your free Off the X training today.